Second year is where a lot of students start questioning themselves, not out loud, but internally. Failing an exam, burning out, losing balance, or feeling behind all the time. If you're in that phase, this video is for you. I'm going to share the mental traps I wish I'd known earlier and what actually helped me survive second year. Hi guys, welcome back to the second part of my video series about medical school and the whole experience. Okay, let's start with the hardest one. Failing an exam. Failing an exam is not just an academic event, it's a psychological experience. And the danger is not even in the failure itself. It's the story you start telling yourself. So, what I would recommend doing after failing an exam is identify the reason. Sometimes it's simple. Maybe you had a blind spot on the exam and the questions focused on a topic you barely studied. That's unfortunate, but it's fixable. Or maybe the examiner was having a bad day. That happens too. And the next time, you'll probably get someone else. The real challenge begins when you genuinely tried your best. You put in the work, you sacrifice the hours, and you still fail. That's when your brain starts attacking your identity. It stops sounding like I failed an exam, and it starts sounding like maybe I'm not smart enough. Maybe I don't belong here. Finally, it's gonna catch up to me that actually I'm an imposter here. To stop the spiraling, we need to start getting curious. Ask yourself, did I study from the wrong resources? Did I focus too much on someone else's notes? Did I pull all nighters and crash on the exam? Or did I slowly sabotage myself with sleep deprivation, caffeine overdose, and undereating? Some of these are not easy to change for good, but they are powerful because they are actionable. After a genuine failure, it's worth rethinking your entire system. Create a simple routine, not a hyper detailed schedule about which topics you'll cover each day. Just a consistent start and end time to your studying. Have fixed eating breaks and at least 1 hour of movement each day. That's a non negotiable. Medicine is a marathon. If your system collapses, your brain will follow. And if you feel like your study technique itself needs work, I will do a separate video on studying 101. Number two is the golden child syndrome. I've seen this too many times not to name it. People who were pushed hard from the beginning, elite schools, private tutors, a constant pressure to perform, often arrive med school feeling already exhausted. Second year can become the part where the crack starts to show. It can go different ways. Maybe this is the first time they're losing their grip. They want to socialize and live a little. Or they burn out completely by trying to be the top of their class, just like in high school. But it's not high school anymore. These are all the smartest and most excellent students here. It makes absolutely no sense trying to be the best out of the best. Failing an exam, oftentimes that's the event that sets off the catastrophe. A single failure can completely scatter a fragile identity built on always being the smart one. Then comes the shame, the fear of telling family, and fear of being seen imperfect for the first time. So instead of slowing down and recalibrating, many people double down. Extreme studying, caffeine overdose, zero rest, and a burnout follows. That's how people get stuck repeating years, having to skip a year, or actually mentally believe that you cannot possibly pass this particular exam. The mental place is so much harder to get out from than just to prevent it in the first place. So that's why I'm saying med school is more like a marathon. You have to spare your energy so you can put effort evenly into each year. You can't just burn out in the first 2 years. Trust me, burnout is so much easier to prevent than trying to fix it afterwards. If you've never failed before and you're terrified of it, this is what I recommend. Always face your hardest exam first. Don't pass something easier just to have something to show others or to feel better about yourself. Choose the exam you're most afraid of and focus on that. Even if you need to reschedule once or twice, even if it takes longer than you thought. You have to be strict with yourself here. but not through panic. To be strict about staying calm. Accept mentally that failing is a possibility and schedule a specific time each day where you're allowed to process this fear. Journal, cry, talk to a trusted someone or even a therapist. And once that time is over, you don't engage with that fear anymore. The rest of the day is focused work. Tell yourself whatever you need to stay regulated. You can try methods like I can go for a walk after I finish this topic. If I study consistently, I increase my chances. Then just do it. Personally, I believed and still believe that if you genuinely study to the best of your abilities, you shall be rewarded. You can call it God, faith, or just how the universe works. Here's why this mentality actually helps you in a very practical way. When you're insecure about passing an exam, anxiety takes over. And anxiety doesn't make you study harder, it makes you self sabotage. You sit down to study, and suddenly your brain starts screaming. There's too much material left. Time is running out. Days are passing too fast. That pressure becomes unbearable. So you escape it. You scroll. You eat. You distract yourself with things that temporarily soothe you. Then what happens? You feel even more behind, which creates more pressure, which leads to more avoidance. It becomes this vicious cycle of pressure, feeling behind, sabotage, and even more pressure. Believing that you can only pass if you genuinely study to the best of your abilities breaks this cycle because your goal stops being I must pass and it starts being I have to show up honestly today. You remove the grip of anxiety by shifting your focus from results to efforts. When you trust that honest effort is what gets rewarded, you stop fighting your own nervous system. You stop panicking while studying and you stop self sabotage. Paradoxically, that's when studying actually becomes possible. Stay humble. If you need to retake an exam, that's not a punishment. It's often a learning curve that can build skills you will desperately need later when the workload gets even heavier. So don't try to skip or find an easy way to pass, or don't think you're above this. Also, keep in mind that your academic performance is not your identity, and it's never embarrassing to be seen trying or asking for help. Next one is the illusion of balance during med school. Balance became this very hyped up phenomenon in short form content. Let's talk about it. What is balance during med school and how it actually looks like? One of the reasons I never had a perfect sleeping schedule in med school is because the expectations constantly change. One week, you're expected to attend late night social events, which, by the way, I don't think you shouldn't attend. I even mentioned the importance of side quests in my previous video, where I mentioned going on exchange practices as a way of building social capital, learning practical things, not just about medicine, but about yourself. And I still believe that side quests and social experiences build you as a person and they give just as much to you performing well as a doctor as studying and knowing the material does. One week, you're expected to attend social events late at night. The next week, you have to be in the OR by 8 a.m. And then suddenly it's exam season and you have to study constantly and barely leaving your house. Switching between these extremes are hard, and trying to maintain a perfectly balanced lifestyle during this is just unrealistic. This is why your life will not look like those day in the life of a perfectly balanced med school reels online. That's actually the reason why they go viral online, because it's so rare that someone does this in real life. Also, keep in mind that you'll never know what kind of help they have behind the camera. So here's my message and the truth about balance. Balance doesn't mean doing everything all at once. It means touching all the areas of life at different points during the year. For example, during winter finals, you're not a 5 a.m. gym girly with a spotless apartment and cute outfits. And that's okay. Your room can be messy and your life can feel messy too. That's exactly the process. Becoming a doctor requires absorbing massive amounts of information in very little time. It's not supposed to look pretty. The point is the knowledge, so you can look pretty in your graduation gown one day. The next point I wanted to touch on is what to do when medicine is just not your only passion. You're not afraid of committing to medical school, like we talked about in my previous video, but you just don't want it to consume 100% of your life. Like, you just want to keep your juicy hobbies or the things that just made you you before you came here. And now in the second year, you can feel like you just have to give them up and you don't want to. The truth is, second and third year can require you to put other passions on the back burner. But in return, you gain a career that can support those passions later. So it's kind of like a give and take. Maybe you're fortunate enough that you don't need a day job and you can make your passions into your full time career. And that's great for you. But if you genuinely enjoy science and the impact you can have as a doctor, you don't have to say goodbye forever to your other passions. But I would recommend choosing your specialty wisely and don't compare yourself to people online doing the most during med school. They are not doing that during exam periods. Summer exists for that. Or you can find small ways to integrate your passions during lectures, for example. I had group mates who would bring their knitting and do it during lectures. You know, those big lecture halls. Teacher is never going to notice what you have in your hands, and you can make substantial progress while listening and learning. So, the next thing I wanted to talk about is how to prevent guilt from leading your life. Guilt is one of the most paralyzing emotions during med school. You never feel like you've studied enough. Guilt will make you feel like you need to sacrifice more and more just to pass an exam. But the thing about guilt is that it's never gonna go away and it's never gonna be enough what you sacrifice. The more you sacrifice your self care and the more you abandon yourself, it will show up in your grades or in your failures. So, giving into guilt is just not the way to go. You have to build your self confidence in knowing that doing this much as I'm doing right now is enough. It will get me the result of passing the exam. It doesn't have to be perfect, and it's not going to feel like passing up until like the night before the exam, or even on the night before the exam you don't feel like passing, but you just have to have this confidence in yourself that this is exactly how I felt before my previous exam, which I also passed. So this means that this is normal to feel like this before an exam, and it doesn't mean that I have to crash out and do something differently. No, just the regular way you always do things, it's gonna get you the result. Practical steps how I would do this is I would build my standard day. A standard day includes at least 1 hour of movement. I've mentioned this before, and this is a non negotiable. This helps regulating your nervous system. It restores your focus after long hours of work, and it helps reducing destructive coping behaviors. And yes, after exam, I recommend facing your destructive coping behaviors. If you've developed problems with food, substance abuse, or just generally have trouble with nervous system regulation, please seek professional help. Just because you've managed this one exam period without fixing these problems first doesn't mean you're going to manage the next one. If you've managed a hard exam period, but you've already felt your mental health slipping, and when the pressure is off and you feel like you're getting better, I would not recommend just ignoring the problems until the next exam period comes, okay? I don't recommend turning your back on yourself that survived the exam period. That self, the one that actually does the exams, that self gives you the life you can live during non-exam period or during your summer period. So you in return have to take care of that self too. And if you have to go to therapy and say, listen, I have this and this and this problem during exam period, you can have help on how to deal with it better the next time. So if you're in the second year right now, and everything feels heavier than you expected, I want you to know this. You're not behind, you're not broken, and you're not doing everything wrong. This phase is uncomfortable because it's shaping you into someone more resilient, more self aware, and ultimately more capable. If this video helped you, even a little, let me know in the comments or share what experiences you're struggling with the most. I read everything, and your experiences help shape future videos. Thank you for spending time with me, and I'll see you in the next one.